ready to go? Because I can go whenever. Already? Cool. Alright, we will get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright.
Timing RTA.
Yeah, marathon timing. Alright, so I'm Dax, this is Nuff, he's going to be helping me with commentary, and I'll be running Spyro 3 after this as well. So this is Spyro the Dragon, first game in the Spyro series. The story in the first cutscene is the dragons were all talking shit about Nasty Nork, and so he casts a spell and turns them all into statues. Spyro's tiny, so he gets to avoid the spell and has to go around freeing all the dragons and defeat Nasty Nork.
Conveniently, he's too small. Just goes straight over his head.
Yeah, it's a pretty good cutscene. So this is any percent. There's kind of two main categories for this game. There's any percent and 120%. 120 you just collect everything, simple enough, but in any percent I only need to collect most of the things. The way the game's laid out, it's split into 6 worlds, and so in each world there's a home world level, and then there's 5, well there's usually 5 kind of levels branching off it. And to get from one home world to the next, you need to speak to the balloonist in the home world, and he will take you to the next world if you have enough of one of the game's collectibles. And so the way to progress through the game and beat at any percent is to collect enough stuff to make the balloonists kind of transport you to the next world. There's no skips for those.
Yeah, so the requirement for the first home world is just to free 10 dragons, but since you're already in the level, you want to pick up some high value gems that are in your path. The colors of a gem indicate how much they'll give you. So red and greens 1 and 2, so they're not that valuable, but anything higher than that, like the blue, gold and purple ones, you pretty much want to try and grab those if they're relatively in your path.
Yeah, the routing for this category basically comes down to kind of optimizing your gems per second, so like how many gems you collect in each, like in a detour from the fastest path between the dragons.
Yeah, the nice thing about this category is that you don't actually need to go into every level, just ones that are efficient.
Yeah, I'll be going into most of them, but especially in this first world, most of the levels kind of aren't very good in terms of like having lots of gems together, so we kind of skip all but 2. That's an unintended jump there. There was another unintended jump in Stone Hill, actually. There's a couple at the start there. Lets you get to that dragon quickly.
I suppose worth pointing out too that Dan's going to be doing a different route to the one in the world record, which is actually...
The route I'm doing is faster, so...
yeah, by a decent amount too. And it'll make one of the levels in the third home world a lot more interesting as well.
Yeah, there's kind of... There's 2 kind of main routes that people do for this category. What I'm doing is the route predominantly made by Tuval, who had the record in this category until pretty recently. And then SSBM stuff, the current record holder, does a pretty different route. That's a shame. I'm gonna go around and do that again just because it's cool. Normally I wouldn't miss that.
Is it faster to do it second try?
No, it only saves like 4 seconds, so no.
Right.
Okay, so that's a wall glide. If you glide up against certain sloped surfaces, you can maintain height or gain height, and so by wall gliding against that wall, you can kind of get further along to a point on the mountain where you can stand, and then you can go through a non-solid part and take a shortcut to that dragon there. It's a pretty small time save, but it's cool enough that I wanted to go for it again in a marathon.
It's not quite as straightforward as it might look. If you're not like edged up too close to the wall, you'll just not gain any height and just fall down. But if you're angled too close into the wall, you'll just flop into it and fall down anyway. So You need to be at a very specific angle to actually gain height of it.
Yeah.
And since it's a curvy mountain, you actually need to constantly adjust the position.
Yeah, you can't just like
with that
pick an
said-
angle and stick with it. You have to kind of ride the wall.
Yeah. With that said, though, it's not that hard, but it's definitely not as easy as it may appear to be.
So something I'm doing a whole bunch is movement tech called flame charging. When you charge through certain enemies and chests, the gem inside will home in to you. But if you just like flame it, the gem doesn't home in, it just pops out and you'd need to like catch it in the air or pick it up off the ground. But there's a whole bunch of enemies and chests that you can do what's called the flame charging, where you flame and charge very quickly while running past it. And this kind of makes the game think you charged through the object when you didn't. And so the gem will home in despite you being able to kind of cut the corner better, like more tightly, or lets you kind of optimize your movement. It's not a huge deal individually, but over a run it adds up a lot. Okay. So that...
Can I come in
Yeah,
with a real quick donation?
feel free.
So, Cantaloupe Me donated $100.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, he was our last Redder that ran Predator. So everybody make sure if you did it, drop him follow, find him, drop him follow. But he donated $100 and said, "Gotta get them there faster. We are speedrunners, you know." And I mean, that is the point of this marathon. We are trying to get our good buddies Prissy and Cassio III over to AGQ 2018. Cassio is a Mega Man 3 specialist from Brazil. Prissy does just about everything. He comes from Germany, and they're going to be both running Mega Man 3, the Mega Man 1 through 3 relay at AGQ. So get those donations in.
Absolutely. Alright, so we've got... I failed something at the end of the last level, but that's fine. I just went around the long way. But there is a trick here that I will try to get. It's kind of unique.
It's also worth noting that jumping around this building here isn't intended either. But
Didn't get
it's,
it.
it's a pretty common thing for Spyro that the developers were clearly not aware how powerful the jump could be. So a lot of things they didn't intend you to do just become pretty easily doable. And this happens very frequently over the series.
Yeah, so what I was trying to do there with the like squeezing between the enemy and the wall, I was trying to get a proxy, which is essentially like a launch when you get stuck in a piece of terrain or like between an enemy and a wall. I wasn't able to get it, but it would have got me up to some of the roofs a bit quicker, and I'd have been able to do a slightly faster route through the level, but no big deal. Between the jump that I missed in Dry Canyon and the proxy in this level, this kind of start of Peacekeepers is a really reset heavy point when you're doing attempts. But instead I'm just going to glide across this gap and go the kind of intended way to this dragon. So in total, across the run, I need to collect 50 dragons. I guess 51, technically. There's one that you are forced to get towards the end of the game. But for the purposes of the balloonists, I need 50. And there are only 58 available up until that requirement. And so I do need to be getting almost all of them. I already skipped 5 in the first home world, so in the like second, third, and fourth, there's only 3 that I can skip total.
Though, if your name is Tubal, technically you only need 50 dragons.
Yeah. There's some skips in the final world that are pretty interesting. So this is the first flight level. Well, it's not the first in the game, but it's the first I'm doing. These are basically obstacle courses. You get to fly around, you go through rings and arches, and you flame planes and chests and stuff. If you collect, or if you get all the things in one go through the level without running out of time, you get a total of 300 gems, which is a lot for how short these levels are. So despite having no dragons in them, they're very worth it when it comes to gems.
Yeah, just very efficient short levels.
Yeah. I skipped the one in the first home world, but I'll be doing all the rest.
And hopefully, every time he gets to the end of the level, he'll be doing something called an animation skip, where normally there's supposed to be an animation for the last thing you collect, and they all like bounce up and like total in the corner.
Yeah,
but,
you do a big loop to loop.
if you crash into a physical object, it'll immediately cancel that and give you the option to leave.
Yeah, so I was just able to instantly leave after I bash into that lighthouse at the end.
And it's pretty easy there, but in actually I think it's fairly easy in all of them. Except
Icy
maybe,
Flight's a bit finicky with the train.
Yeah.
But...
And maybe with Wild Flight if you do the very fastest route.
Right, yeah. So that was the first egg thief in the run. I kind of missed him, but that's fine. I need 5 of those by the end of the third world. I'll be getting most of them in the third world, but there's one right there. Pretty easy to get. And then Dr. Shemp is a boss level, but you won't be seeing the boss, unfortunately. The bosses in this game are kind of like, it's bosses in air quotes. It's basically just a level that has a big enemy at the end of it, but you don't have to kill the enemy, you don't have to even enter the level to progress through the game, so...
Yeah, they're not very challenging or mechanical at all.
Yeah, but this one we're just going to skip completely. We're going to grab the dragon in the middle of the level and then just leave. Because Dr. Shemp takes ages to kill and doesn't give you particularly great gems.
Yeah, it's just as the third hit where it actually kills him is one where it's a decent amount of gems, but it just takes a while to get to that point. I think he gives a total of like maybe like 35 or 40 gems, and then you compare that to the boss in the second to last home world who gives you like 175 or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not very much at all.
Alright, so last level in Peacekeeper's Ice Cavern. This is a pretty long one, it's got 5 dragons. Some kind of technical movement, I guess, but not really much to say other than that. These big like enemies with the metal armor, you can only kill them by charging them off the edge, which kind of makes you slow down because you have to wait for their gems to pop out. Ugh.
Hey, we got 2 donations that came in if you got some time.
Yeah, now's a good time.
We got just a $7 donation from some guy that I've never heard of called Cosmic the Dolphin. That just is. And I always get the Shemp. Apparently that person liked Mr. Shemp as a boss. I don't know.
Yeah.
We also have $25 from Parsofish.
Hey.
Awesome. Also another awesome Spyro guy who says, "Did you know that Spyro was originally green? Surprise face
I did
emoji."
not know that. Oh my god. You should all donate for you should all donate for Green in the bid war. Return him to his former glory.
They changed his color to purple because he blended in too much with the grass. Good luck to my boys, Dax, Nerf, and Ursa.
Thanks, Dax.
Thanks,
so
the
the first donation, I believe, I always get the Shem thing. Apparently that's a hidden line somewhere inside the game's code. It's
really?
like a developer inside joke or something like that.
Never heard of that. It's pretty good.
Alright. Found it on the Did You Know Gaming stuff.
So that's Peacekeepers done. The requirement to get out of Peacekeepers was 1200 gems. We have more than that just because we need a whole bunch of gems to beat the game, so we don't really need to worry about that one. Magic Crafters is definitely my favourite homeworld. It's Got some really fun levels and some flashy tricks if I get them.
Apparently I thanked you for that donation, Dax. So.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you're welcome, but... Got to be careful not to jump when you do that fan chest flame charge. Normally you want to jump when you start moving from a standstill, because it gets you up to your max speed instantly. But there, for some reason, the druids, the green guys who raise platforms, they are kind of manipulated by your behavior, and if you jump anywhere near them, they just like instantly raise their platform, and you won't be able to get them. Making some use of the side roll mechanic that they removed in the later games. Just lets you position yourself a bit better after fan chests. And then a whole bunch of cycles in this level. You can skip all of them, I think. So, like the rising wall, you can get up onto with a good jump and charge glide, and then that kind of raising and lowering platform, if you kind of glide around to the side of it, you get past the enemy and he sees like, oh, he's got past me, and he just instantly lowers his platform. And then there's a neat little out of bounds here. For some reason, part of this wall is just not solid, so you can go straight through it, and animation cancel on that thief. When you flame or charge one of the egg thieves, it starts this little animation where the egg, like Spyro, comes to a stop and the egg slowly homes in. You can hit X to stop that animation, but Spyro will still like come to a standstill. But if you hit the egg thief while you're charge jumping, it kind of cancels the animation. I did another one there on that thief. Like by the time you land from the jump, you're already able to have skipped the animation, and so you never stop moving. So High Cave's really fun level when it goes well. This climb requires you to do some pretty tricky flame charges on these big wizard enemies. It's easy to bonk on them. And you want to catch this cycle of the moving platforms, which I did.
Oh, this will be the interesting route, by the way, that I mentioned at the start.
Right, yeah. I think Nerf kind of alluded to this level earlier.
Hopefully it goes well.
This room has like 1,000,000 gems in it, and then we head to this dragon, and I'll be doing my first supercharge with the rock. Let's see what I can do here. Missed so many gems. I've just missed 20 gems, but that's fine.
It's weird to see straight.
That's fine. So I got most of that, but bonked on the step there, which is kind of the most common way to fail that. Loses about 7 seconds to bonk there.
I don't think I've actually even seen someone bonk there before. I didn't know.
Really, that's the hard part of the strat. Like, that's the thing that makes Bike Caves difficult, is that jump.
Really?
Yeah.
When I was trying to pick it up initially, I don't think I failed that part like a single time. I failed like the one after it.
So yeah, you make use of the supercharge. Those metal spider enemies, you can only kill those either with the supercharge or with the Fairy Kiss Super Flame. And so by carrying the supercharge through those caves like that, I was able to get a whole bunch of gems from those spiders and get through the level really quickly. Didn't get everything that I meant to, but that was still pretty good. That's the same as what my PB got. So at the start here I want to snipe this wizard, which I miss. Nice, that doesn't happen very often.
Marathon luck.
Yeah, luck. It doesn't matter, it's all fine. I don't think my gems are all that great though. You kind of have to keep an eye on your gem count through this run, because typically when you miss stuff, if it's not like super high value, you don't want to turn around for it. That's usually pretty slow. And so the route is made to be intentionally flexible. You kind of put more gems in the route than you need. And then at the end, if you have more than enough, you can remove some. But it just means you don't have to turn around for stuff.
Thankfully, the very last level you need collectibles in, which is Jarks. It has a lot of gems,
yeah.
But just depending on how many you miss throughout the run, you can choose to make that level longer or shorter.
So there's a thief right there that I would get if I had missed one earlier in the run. There's a couple places where it's kind of possible to miss a thief. But because I have 5, which is all I need, I'm just going to skip him. That's my gems out. Oh, that's actually fine. That's better than I thought it was. Kind of have a few checkpoints where I know actual numbers for what kind of gem count I want. And entering, or, well, I guess technically leaving Crystal Flight, I want about 3,000 gems, and I'm going to have about 37 over that. So this is another flight. You've got to be careful with the planes here, because their corpses persist and stay solid for a while. And so when you flame one of the ones in the that are like higher up in the air, their corpse falls down and can pretty easily block your flame from hitting the one underneath it. So you need to be careful of that. That wasn't intentional, but it's all good. But other than that, it's just take the most optimal path. You want to fly low as much as possible in these levels. The lower you fly, the faster you go. Just as a general rule. But a lot of the objects that you need to flame are high up, and so you kind of need to optimize hitting stuff with the tip of your flame. Also, that dragon outside Crystal Flight, I completely skipped his cutscene. He's close enough. Yeah, I forgot to mention it going in. He's so the dragon statue is so close to the Crystal Flight portal that when you go through the portal from the back like that, like I did, you can touch the dragon before the level deloads. When you go through a portal, the level doesn't deload and start loading the next level until the cameras pass through the portal. And so if you can get the camera kind of stuck on the other side, you can delay the level deloading long enough to hit that dragon statue. And it just completely skips his 7 or so second cutscene.
Yeah, even though it has a cutscene, it's the same for what eggs will be like in the third game. They're collected the moment you touch them, even though they have a cutscene attached to them.
Yeah. So this is a boss level, and we'll actually fight the boss here. This is blowhard.
Yeah.
Oh.
This level is kind of interesting, actually, because it's almost identical to how you would do it in the 100% run. There's just one chest at the very end that ideally you wouldn't get. So you can finish this level with like 398 out of 400 gems if you do everything.
I got 395 because I just skipped a couple in the cave. There's like a 1 and a 2 gem, but yeah, you can get very close to 400, which is the maximum in that level. Oh, nice. Good miss menu. So you need to like alternate mash there to do the menu properly. And I accidentally hit. I guess I hit X twice in a row, and so I just chose to stay here.
It looked like you moved down and then moved back up again.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I guess it made the noise twice. Whatever it was,
Yeah.
I mismenued, which is really dumb. Shouldn't happen. Alright, so this level in front of us here, Terrace Village, is a level that we are going to skip completely. The other route, the main one of the main differences is that it does Terrace Village. It goes in there, gets 2 dragons and a bunch of gems, but we're going to be skipping it entirely. Which is good, IMO, because I don't like that level. It's not very fun.
Yeah,
It's got some awkward movement, particularly in the any percent route. But
the whole level is cycle based really. There's a lot of guys that'll electrocute the floor, and if you hit the floor at any point, you have to wait for them to stop electrocuting it to be able to move again.
yeah.
So any mistakes, and you have to slow down pretty drastically.
Oh, okay. That's it's an interesting mistake. So that's what
Yeah,
happens
God.
if you fall in the water in Wildflight. You have to start the level again.
Yeah, I fortunately got actually landed on the what's it called, the ground briefly, and then walked forward, but obviously wasn't expecting it, so he just flopped into the water.
Yeah, it's all fine. It does put the cycles slightly differently, like from entering the level and from restarting the time trial. The planes are on the boats and the planes actually are on a slightly different cycle, but it's all good.
Yeah, so if time trialing was a serious thing in these games, that would be extremely fun, because sometimes the fastest way to complete a level is to do it from entering the level. So if you wanted to get the perfect cycle for your time trial, you'd have to re-enter, and then it would take like 20 seconds every time.
Mm. Yeah, I did Ocean Speedway time trials for a while, and yeah, I had to do that every time. It's not fun. Okay.
So the area coming out of Wildfly is a little weird, actually. You have to intentionally glide longer out of the portal than you would for like any other level, like very briefly, and that's just because of the way the whirlwind works. If you just do the movement and then wait for where the whirlwind is, it just won't spawn immediately. I'm not quite sure how it works.
Yeah, it's
Just
very odd.
intentionally slow down a little bit.
So these trees are the stuff of nightmares. They chase after you, and if one of them catches you, you have to wait like 10 seconds while it chews you. It's really awful.
Sometimes you can randomly get spit out really quickly, but I don't understand that.
I think it's just the first one you get eaten by takes ages, and then all the rest have the shorter animation.
Oh, right. I guess it's pretty rare to see someone get eaten like 3 or more times.
Yeah.
So wouldn't have connected that. This level in general can be pretty punishing.
Yeah, the
The
enemies are all
frogs.
pretty awful.
Yeah, the frogs are especially deadly. Like the level in general is pretty tough, but the frogs especially have a weird, kind of unpredictable aggro range,
What?
and they can attack you from pretty far away as well.
Holy moly, that was something.
And there's only 2 fodders in the entire level. Fodders being the little creatures running around that you can kill for a butterfly that restores your health. So basically, it's you can only restore 2 health throughout the entire level.
Yeah, and one of them is right at the start, and we always enter on blue, so we just use that first one to get ourselves back up to full health. But then the other one is just there if you really need it, but it's kind of a detour. We don't go past it in the any percent route.
Yeah, so right now he won't actually come across the second one, so he only has 1 health left before he loses sparks, which means if he does that, then he will have to manually run over every gem that he wants to collect, which is a very big pain. It's much slower.
It's also going to make this next section interesting. Very easy to take lots of damage here.
In this next section, you have 3 frogs guarding the entrance, but inside there's like a cluster of like 10 enemies in a very narrow area, so it's a miracle if you can not take damage here.
Okay, I'll go with that, I guess.
Yeah, it could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah.
Got a lot of flame charges at the very end, that was pretty nice.
Yeah, I kind of try to flame charge as many of the frogs as possible. It's the best way to stop them from hitting you.
The good thing about having no sparks actually is that they don't have to take a brief second to fly at you and home in. So you can just directly run over all of them and they'll collect instantly, and then you can just leave. So I think he saved like, you know, half a second maybe by not having sparks at the very end there.
Yeah.
I think overall it's not worth it though.
Especially with that
And
fumbling for the that blue gem outside. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I need to go really
You
fast
definitely-
at the start of this level to beat a thief. If I go fast enough, I make him teleport to the end of his track, and I can save some time.
Yeah, so the thief is normally running through the level, waking all these enemies
Ah,
up.
I didn't get it.
At the start of the supercharge ramp, right here, he will be waiting for you. But if you manage to beat him here by a decent margin, he just teleports to the very end of his path. Because right here, Dact is supposed to chase him through a supercharge puzzle throughout the level, but by abusing how jump mechanics work, you can actually just turn left and go straight to the island and just skip the puzzle entirely. And so if he had gone through the level fast enough, the thief would have already been here, and he wouldn't have to wait here for a few seconds while he jumps over.
Yeah, I basically had it, and then I missed jumping up a step at the end. But not a huge deal. And then I can kill this thief early by gliding around. He would normally like see you and then start running along his own path, and I'd meet back up with him at the end of the level, but I can just kill him early there.
Yeah, normally he's supposed to turn invincible, but you just kill him before he even does anything. For some reason they don't apply the invincibility until he starts moving. So coming up here will be the another trick.
Yeah, the infamous stone
That abuse of
monster.
supercharge. Yeah. So he's going to want to be able to use the supercharge to hit the ramp and skip another puzzle. Which he got.
Yeah.
Very nice. So normally you're supposed to go through a convoluted path throughout the level, and the longer you've been supercharging and, you know, going down hills and stuff, the faster you'll go. And so it's supposed to take you in a path where you do like a really big jump and then you dive down out of the air. So you've come from a very steep angle, and that'll give you a lot more speed. That's basically how supercharging determines the value of your speed. But by just hitting the ramp there, well, it's not really a ramp, it's a tree stump, but we use it as a ramp, so you can just skip it entirely.
Very important skill in this game is climbing stairs quickly. It's not easy.
Yeah.
You need to kind of do like these tiny charges so that you don't bonk on the wall, and then jump as quickly as possible, but not too quickly or you won't get a jump at all because you haven't landed on the ground yet. And then each like set of stairs is slightly different.
It's very noticeable if you have like someone doing a run in the background, and you'll just start hearing like the thumps of the rolling your thumb from
Yeah.
square to X.
Yeah, if people have controller sounds, it's a very distinctive noise when climbing stairs.
Yeah.
Alright, so Metalhead works on the cycles of these pylons. When they're green, you can destroy them. When they're red, you can't, and they damage you. And so you need to kind of take a path that gets them all when they're green, but then the cycle is still running while you're not. in that area, so you need to be kind of consistent-ish with your movement in the rest of the level. But that worked out pretty well. And then he gives you loads of gems. And then these gems up at the top here are all from enemies that Metalhead is supposed to throw at you, but because we kill him so quickly, they're all, like, the enemies never spawn and all the gems are just left up on the top platform.
He's supposed to throw the monkeys at you, and then the monkeys are supposed to be like his weapon, but if you kill them, they all just instantly die from an unknown cause.
Grab a few more gems in the home world here, and then head off to Dreamweavers. I have my 50 dragons that I need to get out of here, and so I don't need any more dragons. Well, sorry, I keep forgetting this. I need one more dragon later, but as far as balloonist requirements are concerned, I don't need any more dragons, and so I won't be collecting any in the next home world. I'll just be doing 2 levels to get a whole bunch of gems.
And since you have a decent amount of gems at this point already, just skip most levels in the Sun World and just go straight for the ones that have a lot of high value density.
Nice. So that's a skip to get past those big enemies. You're supposed to shrink them with a cannon that's somewhere else in the level, and then you can get past them. But if you jump into them like that, normally they'll like hit you and damage boost you over them. But if you jump at just the right time, you can get over them without them even hitting you. And that saved me some time from being able to charge that fireworks chest instead of needing to flame it. Because if I got damaged by the enemies, I would have had green sparks, and then if I charged the fireworks chest, I'd have had no sparks, and so I would have lost time from collecting gems. So the kind of health routing at the end of the game here is pretty important. I did not check my gems coming in here, so I will need to check them coming out. Normally I do my calculations going into Icy Blight, but I was talking about the skip.
Yeah, he wants to be able to know how many he's going to have before he goes into level, so he can decide how much of the level he actually wants to do.
I have so many, what the hell? I need to remove some gems from my route. Unless I've just miscalculated this, which is a possibility because I did it at a different time to normal. What? So yeah, you get enough gems at the start of the level, and then you get 175 from the boss fight and the gems after the boss. And so there's a lot in there. And hopefully I'll have as close as possible to 6,000 when I leave here. Or, well, I guess like 5,995 because there's a 5 gem outside. Yeah. Damn, my gems were so good. What did I do? So yeah, I had a total of 6,005 when I talked to the balloonist there, which is just about right, but I skipped basically everything in Jark, so I kind of overdid it in the rest of the run. Wasted some time getting gems I didn't need, probably. Anyway, this is Nasty's Worlds. We are done with collectible requirements, and so all I need to do is just reach the end of each level here. There'll be Nork Cove, Twilight Harbour, and then the final boss, Nasty Nork. So there's a cool skip in Nork Cove where you get bounced up by this guy onto the mountain, and then glide over to the return home portal, which is all you need to do to count the level as beaten, is go through this yellow vortex. So if you've seen like a record contender run or something close to it, you'll have seen Twilight Harbour skip. I will not be going for that. I'm not good enough at it for it to be worth going for in a marathon. I'll just be stuck here for 10 minutes.
Twilight Harbour skip is a very finicky thing. It's not really that consistent. The whole mechanics of how limits it is really finicky, and so it's not really safe for a marathon if you.
I do get to show off this supercharge thing though. I've got no idea why that works, but for some reason, if you charge and if you like jump and glide and charge off that ramp, you get supercharge. It's not a supercharge ramp. There is a supercharge ramp near it. Yeah. Lets you do the end section a bit faster. And then going into Nasty Nork. Looks like I'm dropping frames to the RTMP. Hopefully that's not a problem. Yeah, so I need to get 2 keys, 2 thieves, which I can just kind of snipe like so and like so. Trick that guy into going the wrong way. And then I really just need to chase Nasty Nork around the track, and then it'll be time when I flame him for the second time. So we're very close to the end of the run here. So really just comes down to chasing him, trying to stay close to make him run faster. He has some rubber banding kind of thing. That's one flame, and then I'll go through this orange room, and when I flame him the second time it'll be run over. And time.
GG.
Thank you. I don't have the stream open, so I don't know what time I got. Oh, Mark, a 42. Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah, this looks like it's gonna be a 42:39 RTM.
Oh, okay.
No, 42:40.
That's a bit worse than my JRTRM, but it's decent enough. My PBs are 40:40, and I missed quite a lot of stuff in that run. I missed all the stuff in Peacekeepers and some silly things, so that's fine. I'll take that. So yeah, that's Spyro 1. Really fun speed game if you like movement-based 3D platformers. And next up we'll have Nerf doing Spyro 3, which is a very different run entirely.
Yeah.